Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week. It is Thursday. It's Thursday Tier Talk, but obviously with a different flavour now because we're out of the season. Joining me as always, the Dazzler. How are we?
Is it a more relaxed Thursday Tier Talk now we've got nothing to play for?
I'd say way more relaxed for you. I enjoyed this.
Well, my team haven't lost this week yet, so we're not having a bad week.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
No,
it's going to be a more relaxed show. We're going to talk transfers and stuff like that, which you guys, from the sounds of what's happening and stuff like that, should be pretty happy. We will go through it. We're going to take a look at the Club World Cup as well, and we're going to try and get your predictions for the two that come out of each group. Some might be a little bit obvious, some a little bit different. Just a bit of fun. We will be talking about the report that came out in relation to PSR. I was quite shocked at it, to be honest. But, I think most people were, but we knew what the background to it was. And we're also going to be talking... I'm going to get your thoughts on the Champions League final as well, because we haven't spoken since the final. Just hang on there 1 second. I just have to let...
The mascot.
Yeah, the mascot out.
There we go.
Now have a clear room.
Will we start with the Champions League?
Yeah, we can start with the Champions League, absolutely, and just give me your thoughts on it and stuff like that. I thought this was superb.
This was. We were at Rosanna's niece Amelia's confirmation party on Saturday, and it was probably what am I going to say? It was probably a 60 or 70-30 split, men and women. There was more women than men,
Yeah.
And of course, the camera kept looking towards the tifo and the flag and stuff like that. And they were like, "What's this about?" And of course, I went into explaining it. Not a dry eye in the house after that.
Yeah.
I think it's a lovely touch from the PSG fans, who, excuse me, who probably didn't cover themselves in glory after the game.
No,
certainly not in Paris anyway. But such a lovely moment for Luis Enrique and his family and stuff like that, and obviously remembering his daughter and stuff like that. Now I completely get where he came from, and he said, "I don't need to win a Champions League to remember my daughter. I remember her every day." But Champions Leagues aren't something you pick up every day either, don't forget. And this was a special shared moment that he had with her when Barcelona won it a couple of years ago. And it was a lovely moment for the PSG fans to allow that to transcend, because there could have been an issue where you said, "That was Barca, we're not interested," but they looked at their manager, and obviously they've taken to him massively. He's really, really, really transformed the PSG side that we knew over the last couple of years, where there was a lot of superstars, but the collective wasn't as important. And now, as much as there are superstars in the team, and there are superstars, the collective unit and what they do as a unit is just so much more important. And that came from Luis Enrique. So it's phenomenal. It was a great victory. It's a little bit of a changing of the guard for me, to be honest with you, because I had said all along I thought Inter were the dark horses. I thought Inter might do it. I thought being there 2 years ago would give them a good grounding in the final. You often see teams make it to a final and not get there, and on the next try they'll pick up the win. But Saturday night they were just blown out of the water. They were just blown out of the water. The boy Desiree Dewey was just unbelievable. Kvaratskhelia as well. And Dembele, the boys in the middle there, Vitinha and Neves and stuff like that, and Ruiz. It was like a kid sitting at home playing FIFA. Like, it was that one-sided, and I would have never imagined after what we saw in the semi-finals that was going to be how it was. But phenomenal for PSG, absolutely phenomenal, and could definitely be the start of a PSG legacy over the next couple of years. If we look at the squad, it's obviously a very young squad. and it's a squad that they've still got talent on the bench to bring in. Like there's still players at PSG that haven't even reached their potential yet. So it's a very exciting period for PSG to go into. And I suppose there's going to be a lot of dominance in France over the next number of years, and they will absolutely be involved in the Champions League conversation for as long as they can keep the nucleus of this side together.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just I think it was a wonderful moment and stuff like that for him, especially when you see him putting on the black T-shirt with the silhouette of the Tifo kind of thing on it and stuff and all. And it was really fitting and stuff like that. And I just think with Inter, they just didn't bring that energy. They just didn't look like they had it in them to just go again, because they'd had a couple of tough matches on the way to the final. Obviously losing out in the cup, obviously losing out in the league, and then to face this, and this was the last roll of the dice, really, of what was what should have been a brilliant season.
They looked flat. They looked flat. Now, obviously, since then, we hear news that Simone Inzaghi is leaving the building.
Yeah, it's done.
And now I'm kind of thinking, I wonder, was there a conversation had? And was there this is my last hurrah, lads. This is the last chance we have to do something as a team. And he may have gone into that with good faith in the hope that it would spur them on and raise the bar. But it may have had the opposite effect and just deflated the balloon completely. It's hard to know. I thought they looked tired. They looked really tired. Now, the other thing, and I don't necessarily mean as much harsh as this is going to sound. The games PSG play in the farmers market week to week means when they get to the business end of the season in competitions like this, they should be fresh. They've got lads that have got minutes in their legs but haven't had to go flat to the boards.
You're talking about a team that just about made it through back in December and stuff and all, and into January. Right. And then all of a sudden, that team kicked on from January onwards and just peaked at the right time.
Peaked at the right time, peaked at the right moment. But also, a lot of teams at this end of the season, a lot of the other teams, like Inter, were fighting for a Serie A title. Liverpool were fighting for a Premier League title. Man City fighting for a Premier League title. Arsenal fighting for a Premier League title. Real Madrid and Barcelona fighting for titles. PSG didn't have a whole lot of fighting to do. So they could send out lesser teams, let's say, on a Saturday or Sunday.
Plenty of time to prepare.
Plenty of time. You keep a lot of fresh guys. And that's what it looked like. They peaked at the exact moment that was necessary. And they just blew everybody else out of the water. And fair play to them,
And isn't it mad now when you look at that Spain-France game tonight?
Yes.
And what a difference a week makes. You know what I mean? Isn't it
absolutely. Mad? I brought this up earlier in the chat because I couldn't, when I was looking at it, it's obviously 2-0 to Spain.
Could have easily been 4.
And the front four is Ousmane Dembele, Michael Olise, Desiree Doué, and Kylian Mbappe. How is a team with those 4 up front losing? Like, that's...
Yeah.
It's batshit crazy.
And not even the up 4. If you go back through the rest of the team, it ain't too bad either.
No, it ain't too bad. It ain't too bad. Rabiot and Kone in the middle, Hernandez and Kalulu was the fullbacks, and Longla and Konate with Magnon behind. So, listen, it's not a bad team, but it's certainly not... like, on paper, it's a stronger team than the Spain team for me. Yeah. But they've just come out of the blocks. Nico Williams is obviously having a decent night. 2 assists from the boy Olatabel up front. He's got the assist from Moreno and for Williams. So...
You mean Lamal is torturing on the wings? It's just
we've been lucky this season because obviously over the last number of years and almost decades we've had the Ronaldo and Messi thing, and this year, Ronaldo and Messi obviously took a much bigger back seat in the whole conversation. But the growth we've seen from other players could probably never have been expected. You know, a boy like Doué, a boy like Lamine Yamal, we would have never thought that they were going to reach the heights they're reaching already at such tender ages. Now, we did see it with Messi, certainly. Ronaldo was a little bit more of a slower burn, but like for the guys to come in and kind of take up that mantle, are we looking at a situation where two of these guys could be two of the five big names, you know, which are Mbappe's and your Jude Bellinghams and stuff like that we talk about for the next 10 years, possibly?
Musiala.
Yeah, you know, there's
so many good players at the moment.
Yeah, we've been spoiled this year with the latest crop almost that's come down the conveyor belt. You know, it's phenomenal.
Does this? We've often heard the argument talking about youth and stuff like that, and my view always with youth is if they're old enough to pull on the jersey, they're old enough to go out and perform. That's my rule of thumb generally. How do you feel about that? Are we kind of rewriting that kind of that narrative? Not my narrative, but the narrative that tends to be out there. Oh, these players need time and they need this and they need that. And I know not all players develop in the same way and at the same pace and the same speed.
Yeah.
But this whole thing of like, oh, but when he's 25 and when he's 26, and we see these boys going out there. I think even the kid who scored the last goal in the Champions League, Mayulu or something like that.
Yeah, there's a funny name
18 or something like that, 17, 18.
And he barely kicked the ball for them, which is Mayulu. He's barely kicked a ball for PSG. Like he is 18 years of, he's 19. He's just gone 19. But if you look at the minutes he has under his belt, like there's so little game time. In the final, he played 6 minutes. In the Coupe de France, he played 19. In the game against Auxerre previous in Liga, he played 30 minutes. He hasn't been he played 12. He played 19. He did play a 90 then. But he hasn't been playing game after game after game.
But obviously came on into a great situation as well, 4-0 up.
Onto a great situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, even looking at it, like a guy we have spoken about previously, that Warren Zaire-Emery, like a phenomenal footballer, this kid, right? He comes on in the 84th minute. He only got 6 minutes plus added time. And he's one of the hottest prospects in world football in that midfield position. And he couldn't get a spot. He couldn't get more than 6 minutes plus extra time, which is crazy, but that's the position PSG put themselves in.
Yeah. Sometimes I just feel like you know the way sometimes players, you feel like they're getting a pass when they're saying, but he's only 18 or he's only 19 or he's only 20, he needs time and all this. And I'm thinking, then you see these players go out there and they just light it up and they play with a freedom, and it's like they've just gone from the street to the pitch.
I think, yeah, and I think, you know, you're right. It tends to be players who do hit the ground running are players that have a certain kind of a style. You know, like you're talking about a Doué and a Yamal. Those guys could have been pulled from cages playing five-a-side Astro football. It's that kind of quick, fast pace.
No fear.
Run,
play with no fear.
Play it right. So they don't necessarily, and I know they don't necessarily look like they've just been kids that played in an academy for the last 12 years and were wrapped in cotton wool. They're so robust. Everything is done with such speed and aggression. It's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. Well. You know, there is that kind of street football bounce about them at times. But I have to tell you, it is just amazing to watch. It is absolutely amazing to watch it. It really is.
Is that down to the dynamic of the coach as well, or the coaching panel, if you like, in there? In these teams, you see it with Musiala as well. Plays with such a freedom. He has no fear of getting something wrong or, you know, having a crack from 23 yards out or whatever it is. He doesn't care because he knows next time he'll get it right, this time he gets it wrong, whatever. Whereas you see sometimes in the Premier League with these younger players, they're coached into oblivion that they don't want to leave the 20-yard space they occupy. They don't want it. They'd rather pass the ball back or sideways than go forward and express themselves and stuff like that.
I think
what do you
probably
think?
I think part of it is to do with the fact, like, if I'm a Dewey at PSG, I find a level much more comfortably playing against Rennes or Reims or Le Havre than I will away at the Emirates or away at, Anfield and stuff like that. It's a different sort of a level that they occupy at, which allows them to build confidence while they play. Like, we're looking at, if you put somebody in a team, you're hoping they have that bounce against the Southampton, against the Burnley, against somebody like that. They may not play in the game against City, but that's when you give them their opportunities against the lower lights. They get an awful lot more opportunities at the likes of a PSG because of the league they play in, which then also means they can build their confidence much, much quicker in what they do and have a little more self-belief. The Premier League, also being the speed that it is, plays a huge part, I think. And as well, everything, if I have space and I have time, there's a lot I can do with the ball. If I have no space and no time, and it's still probably the most physical league in the world, even outside of running, from a jousting and a body point of view. It makes it much more difficult, I feel, for players trying to do it in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I suppose on that level as well, when you're talking about PSG, so many good players in there as well. Plus, the jeopardy is probably less because they know, okay, we can drop a result to Rennes. It's not going to cost us the league. Whereas, like, if you're a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a City or whatever it is, that top 3, 4, if they start dropping draws or results, it has a huge impact on the bearing on the league. So, yeah, I suppose, from that point of view. Big up, Jerry. Thanks for joining us tonight. They played a team with an average age of 8, 9 years younger. Could see it after 20 minutes. Yeah, they were
absolutely, Jerry.
Great point.
Yeah, right, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, 100%. In all fairness, after winning the Champions League, all they want to do is go on holidays. These Nation League games mean absolutely nothing. Their season is long enough. 100%. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. Right, we'll park the Champions League. Obviously, congratulations to PSG. Phenomenal job, beating us, beating Villa, beating Arsenal. Didn't have necessarily an easy path to it either, but did very well.
They won the league by 19 points. Yeah. And they won it with, just doing a bit of quick maths here, an average of 2.4 points per game. Now, if we look at that in isolation, it's quite impressive, to pick up 2.4 points per game. But like, if you look at the Premier League, and we look at kind of how things finished, Liverpool finished on the exact same game total, the exact same points total as PSG, but played 4 more matches to achieve it. Now, I think with the level of, and won the league by 10. I think with the level in the Premier League, I think Liverpool's performance there is far more impressive than PSG's.
Well, there was obviously naturally in the Premier League, you're going to think that to a point as well, but also with what Liverpool faced with Slot coming in, with Klopp going out, and
even regardless of that, just on the pure basis of the league, the quality of the league,
competitiveness,
PSG had 2.4 points per game. Liverpool had 2.2 in a much more difficult league.
Yeah, I have to say this season, looking at the Premier League, and obviously we'll do reflection shows throughout the summer as well, but I never felt at any stage, although we would do our predictions week in, week out and stuff like that, and we go, this is everything that Liverpool wants or whatever it is. It kind of never played out that way. The results did, but it never felt comfortable. That kind of way, like in each individual match. There's very few matches I look back on last year that I think that was a walk in the park. All of them were we had a lot of games where we came from behind. We had a lot of games
but you also at times would have said, you guys weren't playing great football, but just managed to keep getting over the line.
Mm.
You know, you were toughing it out, so to speak. Like, we were obviously in the group chat watching games, and week after week there would be discussions about why we're not doing this and it's not working and blah blah. But come 70 minutes in the game, you just start hitting their straps. You know, Liverpool just started hitting their straps and just started and finding a way. And that in itself is a skill.
Yeah, true. Big up, Irfan. Thanks for joining us all the way from Mauritius. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Love it, Irfan.
Next up, Spurs versus PSG.
I know, right? In the Super Cup, yeah?
Good lordy. Good lordy.
I think I'll pay money to see what Desiree Dewey does to Pedro Porro. I think I'd pay some money to see that.
He's doing all right tonight.
He is, but I don't think...
Yeah, EPL is crap, I presume. We say in 2025.
Maybe.
I don't know if you're a Liverpool fan, and a lot of other teams maybe not, you know. And
I think the league was very competitive this year. I think a lot of weeks we looked at it and, you know, teams were just, as we said with Liverpool, just getting over the line against teams. As much as you know, 3 come up and the same 3 went down and stuff, at times even they put in performances where they could have got more points and from the performances that they had and stuff like that, you know.
I think they definitely took points off bigger teams, that's for sure.
You look Brentford, you look at Bournemouth, you look at Brighton. Forest, Brighton, teams like that, all taking huge steps up, you know. Villa, Newcastle, all of them really, really good. Chelsea on the bounce back after the season they had last year, you know, and not getting Champions League or Europa. They win a conference and they finish 4th and or finish 5th and get the Champions League spot and stuff like that. That's big from Maresca as well.
It's been a while as well since we've seen going into a final day of the season so much jeopardy within those European spots. You know, I mean, it was quite interesting on the day and how it played out and all, you know, so very, very interesting. Man City and Arsenal's crap. But both making serious moves. Arsenal a little bit slower. We will talk about transfers, but
Arsenal very, very slow.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. We will talk about it. We'll talk about who left. We'll talk about, obviously, Zubamendi is the hot discussion at the moment as well, obviously, because I thought that would have been done. But look, we've had the same issue with the boy as well, so I wouldn't be surprised he's shaking his bum at Real Madrid, you know. Man City win with 100 points, EPL, Liverpool 84 points. I wouldn't necessarily buy into that. We've lost the Premier League with 97 points. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know, it is what it is. And
you can only beat what's in front of you. And that's what Liverpool did very well this season. And remember what was in front of them.
Yeah, and remember, with 4 games to go or 5 games to go, the league was done. We were on the beach. We were out in Dubai.
Absolutely.
We were
so
what did
you drop? Did you drop 6 to 10 points?
Maybe more, because I think we lost. Didn't we lose 3 on the bounce or something? Or something like that.
There was definitely a fall off, so to speak.
Yeah. So that 84, we were looking at potentially 94, I think, at the time. So, but I wouldn't really look. This league has been won. I think yourselves, you won it with 76 one year, didn't you?
Yeah, but that's when
76 or 78 or something like that.
Yeah, we've won it with less than that. You guys lost to Chelsea, drew with Arsenal, lost to Brighton, and drew to Palace. So you dropped 10 points from 4 games.
Yeah. So there you go. So there's your 84 to 94. You know,
10 points in 4 games after the league title was wrapped up. You didn't win another game afterwards. Exactly. So, you know, definitely you left 6 to 8 out there for me.
Absolutely. Big up, Ryan. What's happening? Ryan, you are getting absolutely drained of your talent at the moment.
Pillaged is the word, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Now here's the only good news for Ryan and for any Wolves fan that's listening.
He's telling us Yamal just scored as well. 5-1 Spain. Is that right?
He's got to be joking, has he?
I don't know. 5-1 Spain, he's saying.
It's 5-1 Spain.
So Pedro Porro has nothing to worry about.
Nico Williams,
yeah.
1-0. Marino, 2-0.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal penalty, 3-0. Pedri, 4-0. Mbappe scores a penalty, makes it 4-1. And Lamine Yamal has just scored again. And it's now 5-1.
So this is like what I said about the Liverpool last 4 games. The Champions League boys have been partying all week, haven't they?
Well, I'm gonna just tell you what the what substitutions France have made.
He's insane, isn't he? Yamal.
Malo Gusto has just come on for Pierre Kalulu. Bradley Barcola has come on for Desiree Dewey. And Ryan Cherky has come on for Michael Olise. Now, I think with 69 minutes gone, it would take a little bit for them to turn this around. But we'll watch it as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up, Baz. Thanks for joining us.
There's our boy, Captain Caramel. I was just going back to Ryan there. And what I was saying was the only little bit of light in the tunnel for Ryan is Wolves' recruitment has been quite good over the last few years. We spoke about this recently. And between Matheus Cunha and Riyad Nouri, you're probably talking the guts of 100 million sterling. So that's big money in Wolves' hands because you're not going to it's over 100 million. It's probably 4 £30 million players a pop, which doesn't just change the starting 11. It changes the starting level and pushes some quality to the bench as well. And by the end of it, you've probably got a stronger squad. Cunha will be the big loss, but I like the boy Strand Larson. He did very, very well for you. You do need a bit more creativity in those 10 positions because obviously I think the boy Pablo Sarabia left as well. And then you'll have to replace Ait Nouri at left back. And Semedo, who's leaving on a free. So there's a few boys leaving at Wolves. Big summer for Wolves. Victor Pereira will look to bring in 5 or 6, I would say. But with good recruitment, you could see Wolves right back up at that 11th, 10th position.
Non-worry position.
Absolutely, because Pereira had them humming this season. When he came in, he really had them humming.
Yeah, they had a tough start to the season.
Good pre-season and a good injection of new blood there at Wolves. I think Ryan could be looking at safe, secure, solid football, making Molineux a fortress again and stuff like that. Good times ahead for Wolves, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and just key to get the players in early as well in that pre-season stuff like that's key. What everyone's doing at the moment. Yeah. Absolutely, Ryan. Poor from Mannion as well. Linked with Chelsea today, wasn't he? Linked heavily with Chelsea today, I read.
He sure has.
In Virgin Media too.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah. I expected both to leave anyway, to be honest. You did. Yeah. You spoke about it all year, to be honest, in fairness.
Absolutely.
Spanish goalkeeper is world class. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a fan myself. I'm not a fan. And I know a lot of people are, and he gets a lot of plaudits. He's just not a guy
What do you not like about him? Break it down for us.
I don't know. Like it's hard to put me finger on it. But there's nothing glaringly obvious that he does wrong. He doesn't make howlers. He's not bad with his feet. He doesn't not control the box. I just think when I'm talking world class, right? I think of guys that can do something that other people can't do. Now, I believe when I watch the boy Donnarumma, he at times does stuff that nobody else can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does he have a gaff in him? Absolutely. I don't know a keeper that doesn't.
Yeah.
But he can also make these saves, and I just scratch my head and I go, what am I watching here? Like this is.
Yeah, the Spanish keeper is very steady Eddie, isn't he?
Right. he's
Very
just
steady Eddie. So
he's
you don't
very
get the you don't get the
we
yeah, yeah.
don't get it. We
Yeah.
don't get it at all. Like
It's like he doesn't possess that goalkeeper madness that we talk about.
No,
He's
he
a very
doesn't at all.
level-headed guy, and maybe that's
Yes.
it. Maybe
Yes.
that's it. Yeah.
And that's certainly his selling point or his USP.
Yeah.
But like, I don't necessarily see him make a save and go, nobody else is saving that. Like, for me, I look at certain keepers, Thibaut Courtois. At times, he just does stuff, and I go, "What is that?"
Well, do you know what it is?
That's...
He doesn't get called on that much. So when he gets called on, he has to perform.
It's
that,
just,
you know what I mean?
And to have that kind of timing is insane. Whereas the boy Simon obviously plays for Bilbao. He didn't play in either game against United because he's not the cup keeper. But I just he's like, I think you've hit the nail on the head a little bit. He's a very steady Eddie. He's a safe pair of hands. But like, I can't even put him in the same sentence as Donnarumma or Courtois.
Yeah, you spoke the last few weeks about United obviously being linked with Emi Martinez and how you'd love to get him in there. And we know that guy's an absolute lunatic. We know
look at the last day of the season.
But we know he's unbelievable as well, you know.
Look at the last day of the season at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
You know, just look at that, and you're looking, you're going, what are you doing? Like, that is absolute batshit crazy what he's just done. But then we'll watch him in 2 weeks, and he'll do something, and he'll make a save, and you'll go, oh my God, am I watching this? Like, this is...
Is it fair to say that there's is there shades of Queevy in there as well? Very steady Eddie, but not
the boy Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll always give you. You're always going to get that 8 out of 10.
And actually,
you know what I mean?
Do you know who also, again, there's a couple of lads in the league very similar. The boy Flecken, who's just left, is the same.
Yeah.
Nothing flashy. A couple of touches with the feet. Takes a few crosses and just save. Very
you
safe.
You look at Henderson, and there's nuts in there. Like
he's fucking nuts. He's either going to be the best player on the pitch, or he's gonna throw 2 into his own goal.
Yeah.
And that's where when I'm talking world class, I want to see a guy do something that I know there ain't nobody else in the world doing this. You just look at they voted obviously on the save of the season. Did you see this?
No, I haven't seen it.
They voted on the save of the season. Now there was a couple of strange things about this. You'll enjoy one of these parts. Andre Onana had 3 saves in the save of the season competition.
Okay.
Right? Which, considering how poor he's been for most of the season, is nuts. But it was won by Emi Martinez. He made a save from a corner. It was a header at Villa Park. I think it was Villa Park. No, it wasn't. It was at the City Ground. And Forrest head the ball past him, and he pulls it out nearly through his legs. Remember, it was behind him.
Yes.
And he somehow managed to get it back and smuggle it back, and this was given as the save of the season. And that for me, if I look at the 2 isolated incidents of the red card at Old Trafford and the save at the City Ground, I'm like, that's why he's world class. That's why he's up on that. Up on that pedestal. He had, the eyes are gone. He doesn't know whether it's Saturday or Monday. And
you see, you've just come through a season where you've had your heart in your hands every time the ball goes near Onana, but not for the right reason, for the wrong reason. Whereas with Martinez, he'll kind of pick up the ball, and he's one of those, the way we describe players who get you out of your seat when they pick up the ball.
Yes.
There's only a handful of keepers out there that do that as well. That can hit that ball, that can make that pass, that can go up there and do something in the box in the last minute if they're sent up by their manager. Crazy stuff, And then you have this cohort, as you said, of keepers in there that are just what I call steady Eddies. They'll do a fine job for you. You won't be really worried and stuff like that. But they won't make the ride up, and they won't make the back page.
Another guy, and as soon as I mention his name, you probably have guessed who I'm going to mention. Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford has the craziness.
Yeah.
We've seen tackles, we've seen this. But at times this season,
incredible.
he was like the next level. You're looking at him going, this is, we knew when Pickford left Sunderland and stuff like that, we knew he was good. I certainly didn't believe he would ever reach the level he's at now. You know, he's just been unbelievable for Everton.
Is part of that the fact that maybe you play in a team that at times just continually has ropey defenses,
Absolutely.
so you have to be that good.
Yeah.
Whereas,
100%. I think anytime I played for a team that were in the bottom half of the league, I won Player of the Year.
Yeah,
because you're called on so often, and you just make save after save after save.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't mean you're not. You're not doing a phenomenal job, and because you talk about Courtois there, like Courtois might not have to make a save for 75 minutes, and then he pulls one out of the net, and all of it right, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is, because for me, and I will absolutely tell you and hold my hand up, and anyone that had the misfortune of playing with me will probably say the same thing. I wasn't great in a team that was top of the league. I wasn't great in a team that were top of the league at all, because I needed to be kept busy, because my head could wander. I would lack a little bit of concentration at times, and that could lead to making these crazy decisions to do things just to purely get involved in the game. Whereas when you were in the team that was lower down the league, and you go from making save to save to save to save to save, that's, you're tuned in, you're focused, you're turned on. So it works for some guys,
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Wilcox, new director of football at United. Did he move into the seat where Brailsford left, is it?
He took the seat yesterday, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I seen Brailsford going all right. I didn't see the follow on. So
Brailsford keeps his position on the board.
Yeah.
So he is still on the board, but he's gone back to work for Ineos in some of their other sporting endeavours and capacities. And Wilcox has now stepped up to director of football.
Yeah, quite a list.
It's a huge list. Well, we mentioned Cunha and Aiton Uri leaving the building. Sorry, just go back to me. You have Semedo, whose contract ran out. Sarabia went back to PSG. Goncalo Guedes, I think, was on loan as well. And then Fabio Silva and Tommy Doyle are expected to be sold. Like, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. That's a starting 11 nearly. 3. It's 8 players. Like, it's massive.
Yeah, there's definitely some clearing of the decks at the moment as well. We'll go through when we get into it, of course. Yeah. Brentford 75 million there, absolutely. Our owners have said they're going to spend this summer, as they don't want a similar situation the last couple of years, but I believe it when I see it. I think with the right preparation, you won't have the same as this year, because I think this year you just struggle from the outset.
I think Ryan just mentioned it in one of the previous comments. Bringing back in George Mendes is huge.
Yeah, saying it there. Yeah,
George Mendes was the catalyst to getting some of these deals done, and I would expect another 5 million on his fee, is it? And I would expect Wolves to really go on the market with this.
Well, they're going to have the money, and certainly they have the reach, and certainly they have the contacts. So
they do.
It's going to be a very interesting project for us to keep an eye on. Guedes was bought from Valencia. I'll tell you
who the first player I think he'll buy, Ryan. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here. I'll tell you who I think he'll buy. Southampton have obviously just gone down, and Southampton's best player over the whole course of the season was the boy Mateus Fernandes. Plays as a midfielder, higher up, just a little bit behind the 9. Came from Sporting Lisbon, played under Amarin. I think Southampton paid about 12 million for him, but he lit the Premier League up this season. He was phenomenal. He will 110% be going back to the Premier League. But with him being Portuguese and with the link and stuff like that, with George Mendes, I imagine that could be somebody you look at. I'd be interested to see.
Interesting. Right. Just want to mention this, folks. We're trying at the moment to set up a time and a date for this with Dylan Connolly, who plays for Auckland City Football Club out in New Zealand. He's the only Irish player, believe it or not, playing in the World Club Cup championships coming up in the next week or so. He plays for Auckland City. He's in Group C, up against a tough group, Darren, in Bayern, Boca Juniors and Benfica. So we're going to get that interview done. We're going to have Dylan on the show. We're going to have a chat with him about the pathway. I checked it today, Darren. He started out playing for Lucan, and he's gone from Lucan to Auckland City, which is 18,000, I think, 667 kilometers. So we're going to talk about that pathway and how it all came about and stuff like that. Get an insight from Dylan, how they feel about being in the World Club Cup Championships and all this kind of thing and all. And it should be a good interview. So keep an eye out for that, folks. At some stage over the next couple of days, we're going to try and get that done.
5-3.
5-3. What a game.
Ryan Cherky. And now an own goal by Danny Vivian. This is the boy who got sent off against United.
Yeah.
For Sociedad, for Bilbao. And it's now 5-3. There's 85 minutes on the clock. 5 minutes plus added time left. Are France going to make Spain pay here?
There you go. Great game. Right, so that leads us in. Let's have a quick look at the World Club Cup, get Darren's thoughts on it and stuff like that and all. And in the chat there, folks, if you've any ideas.
Can I just before you go this far, can I just throw something out here? I saw this earlier on, and I took a little note of it because I knew we'd be talking tonight. This is a guy you and me know from our WWE days, let's say. Kevin Patrick, or Kevin Egan as he's known to us.
Yeah. Kevin
announced earlier on today that he was going to be one of the anchors and one of the hosts for the Club World Cup on TNT. Excellent. So I'll just read you a very quick. It says, "Let's get it, squad. Thrilled to be teaming up with TNT alongside this talented, experienced group to broadcast the FIFA World Club World Cup. Appreciate my MLS and Apple TV bosses allowing me to jump across for a couple of weeks." Now, that's insane. Kevin was in my class in secondary school, so this is insane. But there's an even cooler full circle moment here. On the end, it lists the broadcast team because there's a couple of pictures with all the guys on it. Now, the broadcast team is Mo Adams, BJ Callahan, Andreas Cantor, Connor Cody, Brad Guzan, Tony Husband, Steve McManaman, Melissa Ortiz, Alex Scott, Luke Wildman, and there's a couple of other on it, but there's a really good name on it, and I'll tell you why it's such a good name. Kevin's a big Aston Villa fan. Yeah. And was always a big Aston Villa fan when we were in school. So, when you play football on yard and everybody wants to be the player that their favourite player. So when I was playing, I was always David Beckham. That was me because I was a big United fan, and that's who Becks was at the minute and stuff like that. And the Liverpool fans would be Fowler and Michael Owen and blah, blah, blah. Well, Kev being a big Aston Villa fan, Kev was always... wait for it, Juan Pablo Angel. Remember Juan Pablo Angel?
Yeah,
the Colombian?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And who is on the panel? Only Juan Pablo Angel.
That's cool.
So I just reminded him in the comments. I said, how insane is that? You were always Juan Pablo Angel when we played football in school, and now you're hosting a show with him. Real full circle moment. And one of the lads that was in class with us, Connor Kerwin, good lad, just rolled in underneath it. Was like, can't believe this. This is crazy. So cool. Such a cool thing.
Yeah.
So big well done to Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. Quality stuff. Right. Let's run down this. I just want to get your two from each group that you're thinking. And then we're going to get into talking about transfer news as well and that PSR stuff, and then we can get out of here. So start Group A, Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, and Inter Miami.
I think I'll go Palmeiras and Porto.
Interesting. Group B, PSG, Atletico, Botafogo, and Seattle Sounders, I presume that is it? Seattle Sounders?
It is. I'll have to go PSG and Atletico there.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Here's the one that we're talking about that Dylan's playing in.
Yes.
So you got Bayern, Auckland City, Boca Juniors, and Benfica. It's kind of a group of death for them, isn't it, really? They're three
tough
serious
group.
players.
It's a real tough group. Bayern and Boca for me.
I actually looked as well. Back in 2014, I think it was. Auckland City came third in this. They picked up the bronze medal.
Wow.
So there you go, a bit of history there. I'm doing a bit of a throwback for Dylan's interview and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan is going in. He's going in here. Where are we? Palmeiras and Porto. Throw your picks in, folks, as we're going along.
Yeah, I think so too, Ryan.
It's going there. Hope for Messi's team, of course.
Yeah.
Into Miami, Darren. Yeah, absolutely.
PSG
PSG and Atletico. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And
Bayern and Boca.
Bayern and Boca.
We're nail for nail here.
Not Benfica, no.
Nah, I think Boca and Bayern for me.
Boca and Bayern. Right, Group D, Flamengo, S. Tunis, Chelsea, and Club Leon. This is an interesting group for Chelsea, isn't it? This should be.
Yeah, this will be Chelsea and Flamengo.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Group B, River Plate, Urawa Reds, Monterrey, and Inter.
It should be River Plate and Inter. However, we know some of these games are going to be played in severe heat.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how the Italian lads will deal with that at Inter, especially the older guard. I think you may see a Urawa Reds maybe make it through with a River Plate. I think it will depend on which version of Inter we get, because obviously Simone and Zaghi probably leaving the building here.
Got out
and a changing of the guard, so to speak, as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. They may have. Are they still proceeding with Cesc?
They're trying, but Como refused permission today.
I've seen that, yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's, might have to try and force that through if he wants it to happen.
Yeah.
F, Fluminense, Dortmund, Ulsan, and Sundowns.
Yeah, I think it'll be Fluminense and Dortmund for me there.
Yeah, I think so. Then you've got Man City, Wydad, Al Ahly, and Juventus. Where are we going? Man City and Juventus.
Yeah, I don't think we can look past them.
And then Group H, which is Real Madrid, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and RB Salzburg.
Yeah, I think here we'll see Real, and I think Al Hilal might do enough to get out of this group. I think obviously the big game will be the game against Salzburg. If they can beat Salzburg, they should be able to secure second place.
They're hunting to get players in at the moment, aren't they?
They really are. Yeah.
A lot of players,
they really are. So yeah, that's obviously going to be key to it. I think if they manage to get Simone and Zaghi over the line and in the door, I think that will be a huge selling point when they go hunting for certain players.
Yeah, absolutely. Dortmund, Fluminense, yeah.
Yep.
Man City, Juventus, yeah.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, Al Hilal, yeah. Great
there you go. Yeah.
Salzburg, have they appointed a new manager yet? Didn't Pep Linders step out of the building?
He did.
Was it Pep Linders who was there?
He did.
Pep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure have they appointed yet, or have they appointed from within to kind of keep them going with a view to seeing what happens down the line, you know. But I don't think there'll be too many disappointed European teams in this. Like, for me, I think at a push, like, there's probably only 3 of them that don't make the knockouts. I think Benfica might struggle to get out. I think Salzburg, and I think possibly Inter, depending on, because I think they could be very, very deflated after the Champions League.
Have you sat down and thought about a winner yet?
No, I haven't. However,
What's
I
in your
would
thinking?
find it extremely difficult to back against Real Madrid. I think with what they had on the table, and obviously what they've added to the pot in a Trent Alexander-Arnold and stuff like that. I think
5-4, Darren, 5-4, Colin
5-4.
Mullamy.
Wow. I'm gonna have to just side with Real.
The danger obviously being what, PSG?
Yes, I think PSG are going to be, a huge threat. But I do think it also depends how they come out of the Champions League. If this is something that they want to go and win, I think they're absolutely in the conversation. However, it might not necessarily be top of their list after going on and winning it and winning the league and stuff like that. They may decide to play a second fiddle, second strength team through the competition, and that could affect them.
Do you know if you're a scout, it's mouth-watering to have a competition like this going on, isn't it? If you're a scout out there working, I was just saying, because there's been a lot of backlash about these tournaments and obviously the international ones as well and stuff like that and all. But I think with a tournament like this going on, I think if you're a scout, you can sit back, go over there, survey the land, and unearth that, that next maybe Japanese or Chinese star or Korean star, whatever it is,
110% going to be players that come out of this tournament with inflated profiles from their performances in a 3-game group stage. 100%.
That dream of that Premier League contract with a Premier League.
We've seen it happen where, Euro 96 in England, two of the standout performers, Jordi Cruyff and Karel Poborski, both ended up at Man United.
Yeah.
Off the back of, I don't believe we go and sign either of those lads, other than the performances that they put in at the Euros.
Yeah, I'm hoping that some of the teams that we think might go home a little bit early and stuff like that hopefully they have a couple of standout players that we look at and go, he looks really cool. I'll follow him a little bit and see how his career goes and stuff. And all,
No doubt that'll happen. I've no doubt that'll happen.
100%. Right. Let's park that for the moment because we will be following it through the podcast anyway. This came out. What was you thinking?
I suppose, like a lot of people, I wasn't overly shocked to see a Brighton there with how they've run the club over the last number of years. Buy low, sell high. Tony Bloom's done a fantastic job at Brighton. So Brighton, for me, were a given to be up there. Tottenham, we know, are one of the best-run clubs in the country. Daniel Levy does a phenomenal job of running the business that is Tottenham Hotspur. I think after that, there's probably a few places where we didn't think we'd see. I mean, I didn't imagine Chelsea would be top. Although we do know why. I didn't imagine they'd be top. City, with the money they've spent, I didn't imagine would be up there. United being as high, I did expect to see us in a better position than most people thought we were going to be in, but I didn't think we'd necessarily be that high. And then looking at yourselves, I wouldn't have expected Liverpool to be so low down the list.
Yeah.
Considering everything that's gone on with the league title and the Champions League, and top of the group there, and the TV rights and the money and everything. So, there's a little bit there where I would say, wow, I kind of thought the garden would have looked a little bit rosier for Liverpool, And that's probably one of the reasons why the club has been so guarded over the last few years with regenerating the squad. And they obviously have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. And Liverpool fans at times expect signings to be made based on winning this or winning that or selling this or selling that. But there is also the day-to-day running of the club, which costs an awful lot of money and has to be factored in as well then,
Yeah, Ted's question, why are Burnley should be fined, but in a negative situation?
You're allowed to make a loss on a 4-year period, but it just has to be of a certain percentage. But you are allowed lose. I suppose the biggest shock. If we look low down the list,
Villa.
Aston Villa are perilous. Like, I mean, perilous. Especially with the success they've had recently and stuff like that under Emery. Like, it is a little bit bizarre,
Good run in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. No reason for their finances to reflect like that. And that's probably one of the reasons we saw John Duran leave the building. It's probably one of the reasons why Ollie Watkins is possibly on the table here. To allow rejuvenation of the squad.
When a report like this comes out, does it damage the landscape even further? Where you know that Villa now potentially might have to move talent on, and that you can hold the aces in your hand without diving in. Let's say if you want a Rodgers or you want a Watkins
or if you want an Emi Martinez.
Yeah, and you don't need to dive in there. You don't need to meet their demands because obviously they're under pressure, so they're going to have to sell. So you can kind of lowball it a bit and hang in there, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely can.
Unless you're getting pressure from a competition of another club coming in.
Here's the only thing I would say. This is news to say the everyday normal fan. You can guarantee this isn't news at Wolves that Aston Villa are in such difficulty. This isn't news at Arsenal that Aston Villa are in such difficulty, because they will have taken note of that and looked to that Villa squad and thought, what could we take out of there to further what we're doing? And how much would it cost us, and how far can we bend to get that to happen? So I think clubs will be very, very aware of it,
So would this semi kind of explain the holding off on the Watkins in the January window?
Yeah.
And does rolling that dice cause a problem? Because obviously it didn't give them the ability maybe to push on into a greater league challenge.
It does now.
Yeah.
I don't think Watkins was ever their prime target. I think Gyökeres and Sesko seem to be what they want. I think it's basically now a battle of wits to see who ends up getting what they want. I think Arteta wants Sesko, doesn't he?
Yes, and obviously Berta obviously
wants Gyökeres.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I just thought it was such an interesting report, like, because it kind of when you see it there then on the chart, it kind of explains an awful lot of what we were saying, but trying to understand it without having the information to hand. So when you see it there, like, you can, obviously Everton's an interesting one as well. It should be fine.
Everton's an interesting one because obviously they've put a lot of work into the move as well. So heading to Bramley-Moore Dock, that's huge for them. That will increase their revenue stream tenfold, I imagine. They're absolutely not signing Rashford.
No,
not a chance.
Unless he goes back on a loan. Unless he goes back on a loan.
Unless they ship somebody out to accommodate him.
Yeah.
But then you're looking at a situation where maybe you're selling an Ollie Watkins for 60 million to pay 40 for Marcus Rashford. And you've 12 and you've 20 in the bank by the end of it. And you've swapped like for like, so to speak. That's something Villa have had to do over the last little while, and we've seen them do it,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's heating up. We can see with the transfer window already the way it's evolving and stuff like that now, So gonna be very, very interesting. Given that Forest have basically signed a whole new 22-man squad over the last few years, they are in a really strong position.
They had a lot of loans and they signed a lot of guys on free transfers and stuff like that. They didn't pay fees all the time, and they probably would have come in on quite low wages.
The average spend is quite low.
Yeah,
in terms
so
of when you look at it
it's
across the
not
volume of
it's not
players.
huge. I think Forest, the one thing you have to say about Forest is their recruitment was really good. And if you look at players that they took in, um, Callum Hudson-Odoi, ex-Chelsea, Anthony Alanga, ex-Man United, Nico Williams, ex-Liverpool, they
Chris Wood.
seem Chris Wood, but Wood didn't necessarily come from one of the big teams.
Mm.
Gibbs White was at City, I think, as well. So a lot of these guys have come from, say, Premier League academies at the high end. Forest, they didn't make it at that level. Forest took them in, groomed them, and shaped them and molded them and allowed them a platform to play at, and they built themselves back up. And now, if any of those guys leave, they're going to leave for more than Forest paid for them, which in a PSR sense is going to put them in a much more strong position to go and go and repeat the action again.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem for Forest when they signed all those players was with Cooper there and stuff like that. They were trying to figure out what the 16 or the 18 player should look like. And they were trying to wade through that and stuff.
A one year as well, ex-Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
they were very, very clever in what they did. Like those guys may not have been good enough for Liverpool and for Chelsea and United, but they were absolutely good enough for Forest.
They're also carrying a lot of money as well in there if they want to sell these players.
They sure are.
Gibbs White, Morello, Milinkovic, a lot of really good talent in there that can generate a lot of money if they want.
Yes.
Rashford wants Barcelona. I bet he does. Like about 50, 60 other players. I don't know.
What was it your granny used to say to you? Oh, and would you swap your shy for corned beef as well?
Yeah. Never sell out to someone who may not pay you. Yeah. Yeah, and that Aces, I want to win the Euro Millions tomorrow, but doesn't really mean much. Yeah, absolutely. Barcelona is such an enigma, isn't it, really? It's just such an enigma. Yeah. Real Madrid, very interested in signing Bruno Fernandes.
They're not that worthy.
My guy. Listen, you could read this till the cows come home all day long. Come on, let's get real. If Real Madrid were very interested in signing Bruno Fernandes' agent would be camped over there and a deal would be getting done. Let's be honest. Right, let's get into transfers then. Let's start off. Arsenal. Let's start off with Arsenal. Kind of Jorginho released out there. Neto gone out. Bournemouth end of loan. Raheem Sterling, Chelsea end of loan. Kieran Tierney back to Celtic.
Yeah.
What you thinking on this? I thought Zubimendi would have been wrapped up, announced, let's go. Let's uplift this Arsenal side that are kind of feeling a bit beat up after being runners-up for 3 seasons.
Pluses for Arsenal. The 4 players you named, Tierney, Sterling, Neto and Jorginho. If I'm Arsenal, none of those 4 are good enough to play for me. So I don't want them as options because
Tierney in your squad?
No.
Really?
Absolutely not. Not a chance. So to have those 4 options taken off the table, the exciting part would be you get the likes of a Lewis Skelly or an Ethan Noweri to take the spot in the squad. And then you have to go out and you have to get quality that steps up ahead of what you have on the pitch and also filters some of them down, to the bench. And then Arsenal are in a much better position. I thought Zubimendi would have been done by now. It hasn't been. I still expect it to happen. I do still expect it to happen. But I think for Arsenal, the big thing is going to be who do they get as 9? And what other option do they take in a winger forward position? Because they're going to buy a 9 and they need somebody else on the wing as well.
Especially on the left.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like it's just that anxiety that comes in, doesn't it? Because that's Zubimendi. You seen Zubimendi talking the other day. Hear them talking about my boy Alonso kind of thing. And
they will have one of the best midfields in the league though, with Odegaard, Rice, Zubimendi, Partey and Marino. Like, even their backups are good players. Like, that's a 5-strong midfield. You know what I mean? You can interchange that. You can play a Rice as your 6. You can put a Marino as your 8. You know what I mean? You can play an Odegaard as your 10. You can then swap it out and play a Zubamendi as a 6. You can play your Rice as the 8. You can play Odegaard as the 10. There's a lot of interchangeable pieces. And I think in the 5 players, they're 5 real solid players. Real solid.
Do you expect Zubamendi to make the leap?
Yeah.
Or do you think this is going to be, I'll miss looking at the mountains in South Sudan?
No.
Is this going to run on and on and on, or is it going to happen like
no, I fully expect him to sign for Arsenal. Fully expect him to sign for Arsenal. I think he's given us...
He's waiting for a Spanish club to come in, isn't he, though? Do you not get that feeling like...
No, I don't necessarily think so. I think at times the deal can slow down a little bit, even after they've given the green light.
We were told about the deal 8 weeks ago. This should have been day one. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, but when there's an agreement made, sometimes the foot can be taken off. And if you look at it, Arsenal aren't looking to maybe get this deal done in the short window. It's not a necessity for them because, you know, they want to make sure that they've got eyes on other prizes. So Zubamendi might be done and dusted, but they may need to spend the money earlier on another player to try and nail them down, i.e. a Sesko or a Gyökeres.
Ted, do they really need somebody on the left, Trossard and Martinelli? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think Martinelli, I think Arsenal fans are a little bit tired of Martinelli at times. Kind of flatters to deceive a little bit. Trossard hasn't really played.
It's been that impact sub kind of, hasn't he?
Yeah,
or played when they got hit with injuries.
Yeah, he's been the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer of Arsenal, and that's not derogatory. That's just he's been a bit part. I think you need to match up with the output from the opposite side, because I think what it also you need to get that balance, because what it also does is it means then that they don't just need to worry about Saka. It means then that if Saka's getting double teamed over this side, that means there's extra space over this side for whoever it is to come and use the space and take it on and go and win the game and stuff like that for Arsenal.
And remember, if they do bring in a Sesko or they do bring in Victor from Sporting, there's going to be a lot of pressure on those wingers as well to deliver into the box for that guy as well and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And
it's very different than if you're trying to feed a Havertz or a Jesus or something, you know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, 100%.
Different kettle of fish. Trossard wants out. Yeah, he's never looked really happy anyway. It's not necessarily he wants out. I think sometimes you get a clash of personalities there. And I find with Arteta at times, sometimes his man management can get a bit sour, you know?
I personally think Trossard believes he's a little bit better than he is.
Well, he came in in a big way because he was phenomenal for Brighton, in fairness.
Yeah, he was at that level.
Yeah.
And he's come into Arsenal, which is another level, and he hasn't been able to kind of hold up the bargain.
But he's kind of being used generally on the outskirts unless there's been injuries.
For what reason, though? You know, like Arteta obviously doesn't see him as what we call a starter. He's an impact
he has come in and had those important moments for them.
He absolutely has had moments, and he's a guy we like. But I just think he has a little bit of an overinflated ego on where he is and how good he is, you know?
Yeah, he kind of comes across as if there's a bit of a chip there, doesn't he? He never seems happy either.
He gives me Eden Hazard vibes without the skill.
Yeah, it's kind of like, do you fancy going for a beer, lads? Nah, not tonight.
You know, and you're like,
yeah. Bournemouth. Give me your thinking on Bournemouth here at the moment. A lot of talk going around at the moment. Obviously, Huijsen going out to Real Madrid, 50 million, being the key one at the moment. But I think Bournemouth are going to lose quite a bit. There's lots of talk about the boy Semenyo, isn't there? There's lots of talk about Kerkez. Obviously, looks very close. I think that medical is happening at the moment as we speak.
Yeah, so I mean, like, obviously Kerkez and Huijsen are 2 year back 4. That's huge to lose. And they're actually Huijsen has played on the left of the two centre backs. So you're losing one full side of your back four, which is going to be very, very difficult to replace. Semenyo, they have put a huge price tag on. Don't forget, this kid came from Bristol City and Ashton Gate at the Championship, and he's done well in the Premier League. But I think sprinkling 70 million near his name is a little bit cheeky for my money. Just
forget about. Do you know what I heard last night?
Just a little bit.
I heard content last night that I couldn't believe even myself. Thought that potentially United would bring in Semenyo to play him in the 9. Insane.
Well, that's absolutely not going to happen.
I was there going,
and the reason they won't bring him in to play as the 9 is he didn't play there for Bournemouth. So why would he suddenly play for United as the 9?
Apparently, on the statistics, if you go and look at him, 73% of his games he's played apparently have been in the 9 position. There you go.
That's somebody not doing their research. Because I know from watching Premier League football and from watching Bournemouth week to week, he operates as a right-sided forward on the right of a tree. It's him on one side. It's Evan Nilsson through the middle. It's generally been Dango Quattaro on the left-hand side, and it's been the boy Kluivert in the 10 position. There's been a little bit of change, and Tavernier's come in, and Quattaro had to move up front at times when Evan Nilsson was injured and stuff like that. But Semenyo, for a huge part of the season, I would say over 70% of the season, has played as the right-sided forward. So whatever...
Which has been his strength.
Absolutely. So whatever...
I was mad.
If you're watching last night, I would say to you, don't watch again. It's bad for your health.
No, it's good. I like watching it. It's good.
I'd rip the iPad off the wall listening to that.
You wouldn't.
I would. I wouldn't.
You got to jump into the comments. The fun is in the comments.
No.
The fun is in the comments.
Mitoma to Arsenal would be phenomenal.
And probably available.
Mitoma to Arsenal. So you're now going, what you're looking at, Mitoma, Saka, plus Gyökeres or Sesko. Unbelievable. With what's behind them, Saliba and Gabriel, Ben White, Yuri Timber, David Raya, very good. Very good.
And then your backups are potentially
Lewis Skelly, Nawiri, Martinelli, Trossard, Marino, Thomas Partey, all these lads, like, very, very good.
Arsenal don't need a lot, but they do need to go and invest correctly and bring in the right level of what they need.
I feel like Arsenal are in a very similar position to the one Liverpool were in a number of years ago when they went and got Van Dijk and Alisson. I think Arsenal are like, if they go in, they go Gyökeres, Mitoma. That could absolutely get them over the line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd hate to see it, but it could get them over the line.
Yeah, interesting. Would you be worried about Bournemouth?
Bournemouth have been, again, another team that have recruited really, really well. And we know Andoni Iraola has done a fantastic job there. This will be a big summer for them because the likelihood is, Huijsen and Kerkez leaving and possibly a Semenyo. That's 3 of their starting 11. Now, the only plus to that is you're looking at the guts of 150, 160 million there in money to reinvest. And they have been good at it because they were able to go and get the boy Huijsen from Juventus for a song. They went and got the boy Kerkez. They brought the boy in Semenyo in from Bristol. So they've done well. The recruitment's been good, but it would need to continue. And the other guy we haven't spoken about yet at Bournemouth, who I think this season we are going to see an explosion at Bournemouth, is the boy Alex Scott, who on a lot of the metrics where they're measuring midfielders this season, he was off the charts. Now the issue was he didn't play enough football because he carried quite a few injuries. But if this lad he's only a young kid, if this kid can get himself fit Alex Scott could be on the name of a lot of Premier League teams this time next year. I think he already is, but I think even more than that, you could be looking at, your Liverpool,
when you see a full season.
100%.
Absolutely. Brentford, Flecken going out, Kelleher going in, really, really good business. Boy, Brentford, I think.
Real good, but I didn't think either phase, and we spoke about this, I thought Flecken went quite cheaply. And I think Kelleher's gone quite cheaply.
Yeah. Do you think the Premier League clubs dropped the ball with Flecken going? Where should one or two teams have been in from maybe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now there are some good goalkeepers in the Premier League. So it's what level of investment am I making for number 2 for some teams? Because the certain teams he doesn't play for, I probably don't have him in ahead of Pickford. If I'm at Villa, he ain't going in ahead of Martinez unless Martinez is leaving the building. I probably have Nick Pope ahead of him. I think he could.
How does it compare, say, in your own situation where there's issues there with Onana? You were saying that potentially be in there, they want to go and get first-team football, obviously with Turkey and all this kind of thing on the horizon and all. Would he have been a reasonable investment for, say, a United number 2 spot, maybe?
I don't think we'll spend that much money on a number 2. He went for nearly 12 million. I don't think we'll spend that kind of bread on a second choice. I think it will depend.
We spent 30.
Well, you haven't really spent 30 on a number 2 because he has a direct path to the position. I think at United we need a 1, and until we know who the 1 is, you won't know what you need as a 2. Because if we buy a 1 who's 22, 23, our 2 could be 31, 32, because we're only going to play as a 2. Whereas if we go the opposite way and we buy a 31-year-old Emi Martinez, our 2 might be a guy who comes in and builds himself for a year or 2 to go and take the jersey. So I think it will be important. And the first thing we have to do is find out which of the 2, if either of them or both of them, are leaving the building.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a key position for you guys this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really key. Because you can do all that really good work up front.
Yep.
And that can all be undone at the back very quick, So,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Brentford, interesting going forward. Obviously, we'll talk about you with Mbuemo and stuff like that. Ben Mee released. Obviously, Ben Mee, fantastic player and stuff like
fantastic that. Servant.
Yeah.
For obviously, it was Man City first, was Burnley, and then went to Brentford. Has had a super career. I've no doubt you'll see Ben Mee in the Championship next year, doing a stellar job for one of the teams in the Championship.
Yeah, I think so. Goalkeeper's gone for pennies. Yeah, absolutely.
Possibly.
Ryan, very cheap. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Thought we're going to get destroyed in the Super Cup by PSG. Yeah,
I also think so.
Yeah, we're not going to argue with that. Brighton, not a lot to report there, really. Tom Watson coming in from Sunderland at 10 million. Nothing on the outs at the moment, but they do like to do a little bit of business.
They do like to do business. And I think this year you'll probably see Brighton spend a few quid, because I think obviously their PSR has them in great shape. And I think they'll want to back the boy Fabian Herzler. He's come in, he did a good job in his first season, steadied the ship, kept things moving, and Brighton have a good playing soil and stuff like that. I think he'll want to build on what he's done. I think the big kind of name that's been linked with the exit is obviously João Pedro. And he seems to have a number of suitors around the league. I know he was linked with Chelsea and Newcastle.
Had a very good season.
Yeah, he's a smashing footballer. He is a smashing footballer. I remember talking about him, I think nearly 3 years ago now, when he was at Watford, saying I thought he was going to do big things somewhere, in a similar way to the boy Alex Scott. And 3 years later, you're possibly looking at him taking a step to Newcastle or Spurs or Chelsea. So Brighton's recruitment has been, for my money, the best in the league.
This is really where the bigger teams really start needing to really listen to their scouting network in terms of that 5-year, 8-year, 10-year plan kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yep. We spoke about it yesterday.
Yeah.
Off camera, obviously, we spoke about it. Antonio Valencia told Manchester United that Moise Caicedo was a signing they shouldn't make, they needed to make because of the level that he was coming in for, 3 to 5 million from Ecuador. And United didn't go and get the deal done. They wouldn't pay 5 million for him. And he went within 3 years for 100 million.
Yeah.
So this is, I think since then, United have gone, we made a mistake. And you see now the level of what they're doing with the Aiden Heavens, the Cheeto Obi, the boy Leon, the fullback, some of the lads that Sekou Kone to come in the middle. Sekou Kone came in last summer from Goiders for 1.2 million. This kid could 100% start in our midfield on the first day of the season.
And really level up.
And if you've paid 1.2 million, if he plays 19 league games for United next season and looks decent, what are you selling them for? 20 to 25?
Absolutely, 100%. But the way
minimum. And that's such a huge return. And what does that do for your PSR as well?
Yeah, huge.
Brighton have been the best in the league at that. I expect Brighton to do similar things this year. I expect us to look at what Brighton bring in and go, Donholm, haven't really heard of him. He's from left field. And then when we get out and see them 10 games in, you're like, oh my God, this guy is insane.
Or you get the horrible thing. We were linked with him 2 years ago.
Yep.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
And imagine if they do get the bread off that boy.
Yeah.
That might be potentially going out. Imagine what Brighton, I know Ryan mentioned 70 million, and that's always the debate that goes on. But even if they got 50 million or 55 million, what Brighton can do with 55 million in their scout network is insane.
I also think Brighton have just got to a stage where now they'll decide to cash in on Matoma. I think now is the time. I think they will want to cash in on Matoma now. I expect them to leave.
The scouting plan will be key.
Well, they've had the boy Yakuba Minta that has played quite a lot of the season. The
boy Baliba as well. Who's on
Baliba, Yassin or Ayari, like there's quite a few of these lads. I think Matoma leaves this summer because I think he leaves for 50 plus, and Brighton go, thanks very much for your deal. Great job, well done. We're out the door. And here's another 3 lads coming in for the price of what he goes out for. And the squad just goes again. And then he can drop a Baliba for 80 million elsewhere. And then it goes again. And it's phenomenal. Huge respect for Brighton, for Tony Bloom, and for the recruitment division down there at Brighton. Unbelievable.
Interesting. Burnley, a couple of players in, mainly undisclosed and stuff like that. But out, Nathan Redmond, John Joe Shelby, and Jeremy Sarmiento. That went to Brighton on loan, actually.
No, he's gone back to Brighton. He's a Brighton player.
End of
loan. His loan has ended. Sarmiento. I think Burnley are going to struggle.
Yeah.
I think Burnley are going to struggle. I think they're destined to struggle. I think the one thing that gives Burnley hope is they're going to have one of the best goalkeepers in the division. The boy James Trafford, but I still don't know if that's going to be enough for them because they need goals, and goals come at a price, and Burnley don't generally like to spend an awful lot of money, so it becomes a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea, then we have Liam Delap obviously gone in 30 million from Ipswich. One or two others, obviously Raheem Sterling's gone back after the Arsenal loan.
Yes.
But I'm surprised Chelsea haven't moved more out at this stage. Are you?
I think it's such a small window of opportunity. You know, the big window doesn't open till July, right? I think that's when we'll see things take shape at a lot of clubs. I think of the lap, obviously, I saw I saw the Lap came in and got the number 9 jersey. And then Chelsea apparently listed interest in Hugo Ekitike. And you're kind of thinking the Lap's just got the number 9 jersey and they're about to spend 80 million on a lad that's probably going to take a spot. So it's strange, it's bizarre.
Yeah, end up in the 29 jersey or something.
Yeah, it's weird. I think, if it happens there, I think it's probably has to be the end of Jackson, doesn't it? I don't imagine you're keeping Jackson and Kunku and Delap and Ekitike. I think that's a lot. And the boy Mark, the lad that played in the conference a lot, the Spanish lad.
Guy. G-U-I-U, yeah. No, there's a lot there, all right. And Kunku would be one. Do you think they'd be looking to move on in Kunku?
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
very disappointing, isn't he?
He hasn't played. The only game time he's really got has been in the conference. And he's done good and he's done okay in the conference, but it's the conference, so it's not a measuring stick. And Kunku has still been linked with a lot of big clubs. Still linked with ourselves, linked with Arsenal. I think at one stage there was even a whisper of you guys. So I think
is there one you'd roll a dice on? With what else is available?
I think it would depend on the level. However, here's what I would say. With the type of system we're about to play, with 2 10s and a 9, it would be the type of system to give somebody like Christopher Nkunku an opportunity to flourish. And we won't need 2 10s. We'll need 4 or 5. Because you'll want options and you'll want, now if the starting 10s are Cunha and Wemo, that's great. That means Ahmad either goes to the bench or goes to the right wing back slot. And it means Bruno goes into the 8, which is slightly deeper. But if one of the boys shifts out, then maybe Bruno has to go up and maybe or Ahmad has to tuck in and Dalot comes in. And so there is movement, a little bit of room for movement. So the likes of it in Kunku, possibly, I think it would be very, very dependent on the price tag. Chelsea will want to recoup as much as they possibly can. I don't think any team at the minute is going to pay any more than about 25 to 30 million for Christopher Nkunku with the way things have gone at Chelsea.
They were linked with Garnacho, weren't they? So a deal could be done, maybe. And that sounds like a deal that could be feasibly done.
Possibly. Now, it's obviously not a deal that's going to be done straight.
No.
You're probably talking a Christopher Nkunku on 20 or 30 million, something like that. Garnacho would hold much more value than Nkunku at the minute, I think.
Yeah. Liverpool, my own club. How have you thought about this at the moment? How it's going? Frimpong, obviously. Kerkez look like it's going to happen. Verts looks like it probably will happen.
I love Frimpong and Kerkez. I love Frimpong and Kerkez. I am, and I said it to you, just a little bit worried about the Verts thing. Not because I don't believe he's a super footballer, but I do think you bringing in Florian Wirtz means you play a slightly different brand and style of football. That could land, and those games that maybe you muddled and struggled through this season, you go and beat teams off the pitch next season. And if that happens, it's worked. The problem is you are changing a lot to incorporate one player. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you'd great, like if we look at that triangle in the midfield with Gravenberch, with McAllister and with Szoboszlai, you had a great base to go and do stuff. You Gravenberch sitting in front of the back four, screening. You the 2 boys picking up the ball, driving, bringing lads out of the fence, creating space in behind for the Salas, the Gakpos, the Diaz, guys like that and stuff. So I just think
I think this season we played in a way that was very controlled and measured. And I get the feeling from the direction we're going with this one, it's going to be very, very attacked and there'll be a lot of scattergun, a lot of heavy metal football again. I agree with you.
Is that
how you're feeling?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm excited to see it, but
Yes.
I thought the way we played, this year was very staged, controlled,
Yeah,
patient. I think this is going to be at a
I think you're
different
right.
rate.
I think it's back to heavy metal football, and
Which,
if
if it works, it's very
if
exciting.
if it works, absolutely. I think the boy Wirtz is a fabulous footballer. Do I think everyone that's come in from the Bundesliga has hit the ground running? No. And do I also look at the frame and go, he's not the biggest, most robust sort of a kid? You know, that is there an opportunity here for teams to go and attack him physically and take him out of the game a little bit? We'll see. Only time will tell. He definitely has the talent and the ability. I think if I look at it, does a move to Madrid under Alonso, playing in the team, which are your Jude Bellingham behind you, your Kylian Mbappe in front of you, your Vini on the wings and whatever, and with less contact in a slower league, does that kind of entice me a little bit? Maybe.
He's gonna need a very good 9 in front of him, isn't he?
He is, unless he's the false 9.
Yeah.
Which again has been muted.
Yeah.
And like that would worry me as well. I don't know if I want to put that on the kid.
That's a bigger change, a bigger leap and a bigger
huge. That's huge. Even if you're going in with Diaz, Salah, Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Wirtz as the 9, that's huge on that kid to go and play false 9 up against Saliba and Gabriel. Like, that's tough.
It's going to be interesting.
Look at the look at the last guy that came out of Leverkusen, that was built like that technically was maybe as gifted as him. Yeah. Who was it?
You're going to tell me, aren't you?
It was Kai Havertz.
Yeah.
Who you were also linked with, if you remember at the time. Yeah. Before he went to Chelsea. When everyone said, because don't forget, this kid was lighting up the Bundesliga in that number 10 role where he picked up the ball and he was free to move with it, and there was one touch stuff and he was going behind. Kai Havertz was in possession of that slot before Wirtz came in. And he was the great white hope before Wirtz. Now, that was a huge step down from, did Chelsea pay 70 odd million for him?
63 or 62, I think it was.
Right.
It was big bucks anyway, yeah.
And that's 4 years ago?
Yeah. What I would say, though, did go on and win a Champions League with Tuchel. I was looking really good in a Tuchel situation. And then Chelsea's world, the bottom fell out of their world.
Was part of a squad that won the Champions League.
Didn't
necessarily... Well, Luke Chadwick was part of a squad that won the Premier League. We're not going to start throwing medals at him either. So you have to see what he brought on the occasion. And listen, he done okay, but it's a big fall from where he was pitched. That's all.
Yeah, and it's how the player handles the pressure that are coming in.
100%.
Record fee, heavy jersey, huge expectation. You know what I mean? So we'll see. It's big money. It's a roll of a dice like any transfer, but nice of the club to start showing intent. That's the main thing.
What is it you said you wanted to see? You wanted to see the club go out and try and solidify your position at the top.
Level up when you're winning. Up when you're winning.
So that's all you can ask for. I love the two fullbacks. I love the idea of Wirtz. I think he's a really good footballer. I still, if I'm Liverpool, I want to know him. I still want to know him.
100%.
And the worry is, if we go all in for a Verts and it ends up being 100 to 120 million, what's left in the kitty for a 9?
Well, this is where you put up and you shut up, because they can't afford to. You're not going to throw someone into the 9 that's just.
Are you then at a position where you're looking at Cody as the 9 next season?
Cody.
Gakpo?
Definitely not.
He's played there previously.
I know, but that's.
I don't know. So. I'm just. Well, the likelihood is Darren.
Well, listen, it wouldn't. Yeah, and the likelihood is Jota will probably exit the building as well.
Possibly.
I'd be surprised if both don't go. But we shall see. We shall see. Feels like they've gone quiet on the 9 position, but we'll say they'll probably do something.
And a lot of the guys that maybe you were being linked with, or certainly who you would be interested in, Sesko, Gyökeres, Ekitike, are all now being eyed by others.
Other teams as well, yeah, absolutely.
So then and we know with Liverpool at times, when they've had their 1, 2, 3, 4, if they couldn't land anything on that list, they didn't go to 5. They said, no, we'll wait. It's not the right time. We'll bide our time and we'll,
I just think the success of Verts coming in, I think will be impinging on getting in a really good 9. I don't think it can be a Darwin or a Jota or as you said, Cody might be that option. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Right, let's round it out. Man City quickly. What do you think business so far?
Well, it's Tierney Reinders, which is I think it's a really good signing. I spoke to you yesterday about him. Ball possession is second to none. Keeps the ball really well. Keeps the game ticking really well. You put him in front of a Rodri, who we know gives you an amazing base, and then you bring maybe somebody like a Ryan Cherky in front, to create and to be that maverick in your team. And then they're obviously looking to bring in fullbacks as well, and Reet Nori on one side and who knows on the opposite side. They were linked with someone at right back, weren't they? Tino Livramento was the right back. Like if you're bringing in Livramento, Reet Nori, Tierney Reinders, and Cherky on the back of Marmoush, Kushyanov, Savinho and Ruiz, the centre back who came in, like that's phenomenal spending, phenomenal.
Yeah. But it was needed because they were way off where they should be.
It was needed. I think City will also sell. I do expect to see certainly 3 to 5 players leave the building from the immediate first team squad.
Yeah, Gonzalez as well.
Yeah. Nico Gonzalez as well, correct, who started to really look like a player at the end of the season. The boy McAtee is going to go. We know that for sure. Jack Grealish is going to go. And I expect probably to see Nathan Aki go. The boy Sergio Gomez that was at left back will probably go. I think we might be about to see the end of Bernardo Silva. I think he will also go. KDB is gone. And
Ilkay,
and I think one of the keepers will leave, because I think if Ortega isn't given the one jersey, he steps out, and if he is given the jersey, it's because Ederson is leaving. So, which is more changes.
Rico Lewis.
I don't think Lewis leaves.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No, he can play too many positions. Possibly.
Interesting. Right, and then we'll round out with your own team. United. How you feeling at the moment?
I'm trying to taper my expectations.
Don't. You haven't had a lot to cheer about or smile about this season. Don't taper it. Enjoy it. I
know, but I don't want to get overly excited and stuff not land. But if we look at, let's say, the four most prominent names we've been linked with. Obviously, Cooney is done.
Is done.
A deal looks like to be advancing for Mbeumo. Emi Martinez has been mentioned quite a number of times. And now it's come out today that apparently, if the money can be made available, Victor Gyökeres is happy to come. Now, that would be phenomenal. Huge. A whole new front three. Gyökeres, Cooney and Mbeumo. Bruno dropping into the midfield. Dorgu and Ahmad as the fullbacks. A keeper in the back. And 3 centre-backs in front. All of a sudden, we're in with a chance.
Do you notice with the signings and with the links at the moment? You spoke about what the parameters they've set when they're signing players. So
yes.
But have you noticed that the percentage on the Jeopardy side has gone right down? Because
the likelihood of it not working.
Yeah, because now you're in a position where none of these pieces you put in can fail. They can't.
And I think that's why they
they
put the parameters in to make sure it works.
Yeah.
And to get the pieces that we guarantee work, even if it means getting less of them in.
It also means as well that you're getting in pieces that will work even if your coach steps out of the building.
Absolutely. But I don't believe that's even on the radar, to be honest with you.
I'm not saying it is, but let's suppose you go into next season, things don't hit their stride straight away, or for one reason with the new system, guys are trying to find themselves. You find yourself down in 12th or something, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes, and he goes, I think you still have a nice nucleus in there for any man.
Well, you still have a front three of Mbeumo, Gyökeres and Cunha. You still have fullbacks. You shuffle a midfielder, and you shuffle a centre back and push a midfielder in, and you have Bruno back at 10, and you know,
and you probably have a keeper in there that gives your back four a lot more confidence than they had this season.
You possibly end up at a point where you've got a Ugarte and a Bruno in the middle, Cunha as your 10 behind the Gyökeres, and a Madden and Mbeumo either side. And then Dorgu and Dalot with 2 centre-backs or something like that. So, again, it does give you an opportunity to pivot if it's need be. I don't see it happening. I don't think they're going to go to the length they're looking to go to not back him and make a change. Yeah.
His stats are insane. Insane.
Yeah, he's a very impressive player to watch. Like, he's big, he's physically strong, he's got pace, he can run the channels, he can go in behind, he's winning headers, he hits first time, he does it with both feet. He's an extremely impressive footballer.
I've noticed looking at his highlights as well. I've looked at some of his highlights. In that key moment where, you know, Rasmus drops his balls nearly out of his shorts when he gets that moment. This guy is so cool, calm, collected, takes it very early so the keeper doesn't have a chance to set. You know, before you know the ball's in the back of the net, and it's like it hasn't even left his foot kind of thing.
I think the confidence thing is so important. Because I said in the group chat, I fully expect Hoyland to go somewhere and look like a footballer. You know, I think it wasn't conducive to anybody standing out really this season. If we look at it, you know, the only real standout United this season was Fernandes and possibly Diallo. But other than that, everybody was at a level which was below where we would expect it. But I think Rasmus can go somewhere and find and build that confidence again, because I think there's a player in there. I do. And if we look at last season, I don't believe he got worse in a season, because he looked a much better version last season.
Yeah.
But his confidence is in his assets at this stage.
The collective got worse.
Right.
The collective got worse, yeah. So it's
absolutely.
And look, we've seen in the past when players leave, they do go on to. We've seen it this year with McTominay. We've seen it with Anthony when he went to Betis and stuff like that. So there's always there's always life on the other side of that coin, you know, and sometimes it just doesn't work for you. Sometimes you just can't handle. And I say to people all the time, the microscopic approach that Man United and those players come under is absolutely insane. If you tie your laces the wrong way, it's on the back pages. And it's just, you know, sometimes when you're young and that pressure comes on you, it's a different kettle of fish and stuff like that, you know.
I think that's where bringing in characters is as important as bringing in footballers this time. Yeah, possibly, Ted. Absolutely. I think if we'd have had somebody ahead of him and he was being brought on as the game changer, it would have given him a better opportunity, as you say, to build. But him having to be that 9 for the last 2 seasons, it's just drained him. It's absolutely drained him. It's trained us watching him, so it could only have trained him as well. But I think they're buying, you know, we also look like they're buying characters. They look like they're trying to sign guys who can carry the jersey.
Lads with a bit of chest.
Cooney is a big character. Martinez, big character. Mbeumo, character. Gyökeres, big character. All guys. I don't expect all 4 to happen. If all 4 happen, I will be an extremely happy man. But I don't expect it all to happen. If we got Martinez, Mbeumo, Cunha, and A9, I would be delighted. I think Gyökeres for me would be the cherry, but I don't necessarily.
I think if Rasmus exits the building and you get the money for him and stuff like that, I think that money can be thrown towards it. And I think with the connection there with Amarin as well, I don't see, like, go out there and do it, you know.
Well, I'd like to see it. So if that's any good,
is that the black with the yellow?
Black with the blue and yellow. Yeah. It looks insane. Yeah. It looks insane.
Saying it today, all right. Right, that's it. Another show. Transfer. This is the way it's going to be throughout the summer, folks. We'll be covering the World Club Cup. We'll be covering transfer news and whatever else you want to talk about in the chat and stuff like that. That's how it is going to go for the next number of weeks. Always a bit of fun and stuff like that as we look forward to it and look at the different transfers and how it's going to impact the clubs and stuff like that.
Always great when I don't have to worry. Did I have me beat the bookie ready as well?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've never been good at homework, unfortunately.
Hey, you haven't done too bad this season now, in fairness. Great job, lads. Have a good one. I always
put my best foot forward for you, but it doesn't mean I'm any better at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Love you, lads. Love you, Ryan Bud. Perfect. Right, so until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like in the video. Make sure, keep an eye out for that interview when we go live with Dylan Connolly. It's going to be a belter. Cheers, bud.
Thanks, pal.